I'm Julie Cortez, copywriter by day, freelance rock star by night. I have run my own freelance copywriting business for over 22 years now. And that means I work in advertising and marketing. I write brochures, websites, commercials, you name it. And about 5 years into my career, I noticed that there was a void for the self-employed, a void in education, community, and even respect. And so I ended up making it my career, life's personal mission to rectify that. In 2003, I started a little known organization here in town called the Freelance Exchange of Kansas City, and it caters to those who are self-employed, specifically in advertising and marketing. This includes graphic designers, writers, photographers, and even non-creative types like web developers, social media pros, PR pros, what have you. From there, the opportunities just came my way and presented itself. Year after year, I kept getting asked for all these media interviews, and essentially I became the go-to resource in town for all things freelancing or self-employment. Fast forward a few years, and it dawned on me that I don't know about you guys, but when I went to school, I studied my craft. I studied how to be a writer in advertising. I didn't take business classes because they weren't required, nor did I ever think that I would need them. And lo and behold, guess what? I needed them. And so I was like, this stuff needs to be taught in schools. And long story short, I ended up approaching the Kansas City Art Institute, which is world renowned if you're not familiar with it. And I developed my own course, Freelancing 101, where I'm teaching young artists how to run their own businesses. And I've been doing that for about 5 years now. And lo and behold, here come my professional peers, my fellow freelancers saying, Julie, this class sounds amazing. I would love to take it. And I'm like, okay, well, that's great. You have to enroll and you have to pay and go back to school. Well, nobody wants to go back to school at this stage, or very few people do. And I was like, oh, Cortez, light bulb moment. You should open up a coaching arm to your practice and help your fellow freelancers in their journeys when it comes to the business side of things. So I did that. So I've been coaching for a couple of years now. And again, by default, I've ended up on many a stage, both locally and nationally and internationally now, actually, as of last Friday, well, virtually anyway. It's been a wild journey and I'm loving every minute of it. So I had to rebrand a few years ago. Instead of Julie Cortez copywriter, now I'm Julie Cortez freelance rockstar, because there's so much that falls underneath that umbrella. But enough about me. I want to talk about you all. I want to talk about solopreneurship and how I can help you today. So let's start on a positive note. Let's start with the pros of being a solopreneur. Absolutely, number one thing has to be freedom, right? Yes, you have the freedom to be your own boss. You can work when you want, on what you want, with whom you want, where you want. You can wear whatever you want to wear, your clothing, right? You get to do things the way you want to. Now, notwithstanding, there are some industry standards and ethics, of course, that you ought to follow. But for the most part, you're your own boss. You get to set the rules, and it is freaking amazing. All right. I've worked on the corporate side before, and I would not trade it for anything. I love what I do, and I love self-employment. Heck, I've been doing it over 20 years. All right. You can too. So as promised, today, what we are going to cover is branding and promotions, pricing your products or your services, whatever it is that you'll be selling or are currently selling, as well as some tried and true motivation techniques that can help you get ahead. All right. So if you have any questions, by the way, feel free to put them in the chat. I will address them at the end of the show here when I'm able to see the chat box. So let's start off with branding and promotions. You want to promote yourself, or yourself if you want to be cool, right? You've got to promote yourself. So let's talk. What is a brand? What is a brand? Now, when I ask that question in live audiences, most people will say, well, it's your logo, or it's your company name, it's your slogan. And I'm going to say, well, yes and no. Yes, those things make up your brand. But what is a brand? Your brand is essentially how people feel about you when you're not in the room. It's your reputation. And the things that we talk about, your logo, your tagline, your company name, your brand colors, your fonts, the voice you use, what have you, All of that, make that up. That they all feed into building your company's reputation. All right. So how do you get there? Well, first off, you're going to want to develop what's called a USP. It's just spelled out with letters, USP, and it stands for unique selling proposition. Or maybe you've heard of it as unique selling point before it. It's the same thing. Basically, this is your differentiator. What makes you different slash better than your competition? Let me repeat that. Your USP is what makes you different slash better than your competition. And this is something that you're really going to want to dig deep on and figure that out. Is it that you have a particular style that nobody else locally does, right? Or maybe it's the process that you use. Maybe it's a personality. It doesn't necessarily even have to be about the work itself. It could be about these things behind the scenes. But be careful with this. Let me give you an example. I have clients who would say to me, well, what makes us different is we have the best customer service. And I'm like, that's great. Anybody can say that. That is so generic. I want something that's really catered to you. What makes it that you have the best customer service? Is it because you have somebody answering the phones 24/7? Well, that's amazing. That's pretty much unheard of. So focus on that and highlight the heck out of that in everything you do, from branding all the way down to promotions. You want your brand, your USP, to come out and appear on your business card, on your website, in your social media profiles. Think about even branding your email address. Now, this is something that a lot of people forget, and it's an incredible opportunity to take advantage of. I would venture to say that most people out there have some sort of, Julie@gmail.com kind of address, right? If you have a website, if you have a domain at least reserved, use that as the back end of your email address. Okay, so for example, my website is juliecortez.com, and you can reach me at, hey, notes, if you want to email me later, copydiva@juliecortez.com. It's not at gmail.com, it's at juliecortez.com. Instant branding. You can do this too. Okay, so let's say you're first starting out, or maybe you want to refresh and you're looking to get your branding put together for you. So you're probably going to be looking for somebody like a graphic designer. Great. There are plenty of talented individuals out there, both on the self-employed scale, as well as, you could go to an ad agency and pay a lot of money, or, find the same quality talent in a freelancer, somebody who is self-employed and does graphic design or art direction for a living. I highly recommend two things. One of which, if design is not in your wheelhouse, please don't attempt it. Please, please, please don't attempt it. There is nothing that can kill your business faster than bad design or bad promotional materials. Okay. Know your strengths, know your weaknesses, surround yourself with smart people, and outsource the things that you need to outsource. But be careful. Here's point two. Be careful when you do that, because there's a lot of people out there who are designers. There are a lot of people out there who claim that they're brand experts when they're really not. All right. So do your research. Look into, 2, 3, 4, 5 different people. Compare them. Look at their websites. Look at their social media profiles. Look at their email addresses. Somebody can say that they're a brand expert, but actions mean more than words, right? Speak louder than words. Absolutely. If they're not carrying out their brand throughout everything they do you really want them working on your brand? Now, I have a tip for you where to find excellent talent, and I'll share that with you in a bit. But keep that in mind. You want to not only look at the work, but you also want to be able to interview each person to make sure that they understand the strategy that you're trying to achieve. And then you take your brand once you have it established, and yes, you put it on your card, you put it on your website, you put it in your social media profiles, but think outside the box. Where else could you showcase your brand? Anybody notice anything? Now, I'm not saying you have to color your hair in your brand colors. That's just something that I choose to do as a creative person. But what else could you do? What about your laptop case Or maybe you've got a mug that you take to client meetings, or to work. Maybe it is your laptop bag or the little pad folio that you use when you go to meetings. Maybe these are in your brand colors. Or, I even have my phone case is in my brand. Now, I go over and beyond, above and beyond, absolutely, when it comes to branding. You don't need to do the same, but be creative. The more you put your brand out there, the more people will be able to recognize you and remember you. And that's what you want. You want to be top of mind at all times. Keep things consistent throughout everything you do. Keep that brand going. Okay, so once you've got your brand established and you're ready to promote yourself, we've got to remember that an online presence is essential, especially now, in pandemic times when everything's virtual. But even before the pandemic hit, like, it was essential to have an online presence. If people Google you, you want them to be able to find information on you. Now, what does that look like? Is it a website? Is it an Etsy shop? Is it a Facebook business page? Whatever that means to you and what's appropriate for your business, make sure you have an online presence where people can easily find out information about you and easily contact you. Okay. Then, of course, one of the easiest things to do when it comes to promotion is social media. It's easy and it's either free or it's cheap. Take advantage of that. And then don't just set up profiles, you actually have to post. There's nothing worse than like going to somebody's Twitter page that I'm looking up and like they haven't posted in 9 years. And I'm like, oh, I'd much rather you not even have a Twitter page than have something like this. This all affects your brand. It all affects your reputation. Okay, so no setting it and forgetting it. You want to be posting regularly. There's a variety of different opinions on there of what does that mean? What does that look like? Is it once a day? Is it twice a day? Is it, maybe it's just 5 times a week? Do the research. Maybe you hire a social media pro to help you with this. And make sure that you are posting regularly. And don't forget that it's not just yelling. It's not just talking to people. It's also engaging with them. So you're going to want to also go through, find your target audience. You want to like their posts or react to their posts. You want to comment. You want to share. You want to send them direct messages. Okay. This is all a two-way street. It's all about building relationships and letting people know who you are. Now, of course, you could always look into traditional advertising and marketing, and it depends on what it is your business is and if this makes sense, because it can get pricey, but there are some things you can do for minimal amount of money. Of course, you could do TV and radio commercials, but those are pricey. A billboard, that's pricey. And if you've got the budgets for it, by all means, please do. Otherwise, you may look into like newspaper or magazine advertising and newsletter advertising. You may do direct mail, which means like a postcard or a letter that you send to a targeted list. There's a bunch of options that you can look into. We don't have time to go into everything today. That is a full-on class right there, like, a semester, not just 45 minutes here. But there's a lot that you can do and a lot that you can consider. Now, if you're looking more to the inexpensive or free route, don't forget things that you can do on a PR level, such as speaking gigs, right? Entering award shows, and then if you win, sending a press release to the media and hopefully getting written up for that. Getting media interviews, getting on TV shows, radio shows, podcasts, getting interviewed to position yourself as an expert in the industry. Write articles, whether it's for yourself, maybe you put it on your LinkedIn profile, or maybe you're writing for another publication. Or even KC SourceLink, I think, allows for people to write articles depending on what the topic is. Write blog posts. These things don't cost you any money. They just take time to do. Set aside time every single day to work on your promotions. I recommend at least an hour a day. I know that's a lot, or it sounds like a lot, but once you get into the swing of things, you'll be able to pull this off. Set aside time to work on your promotions every day. You could exhibit in trade shows. Now that might cost a little bit more. And of course, it looks a little different these days in the virtual world, but they're still happening. And you might as well take advantage of that prime opportunity to get in front of the people who are looking for folks just like you. Okay. You could go to networking events, even online, and you can volunteer. I will tell you, networking and volunteering are what built my business from the ground up. And the reason why is because people like to work with people whom they know, like, and trust. Well, how do you get to be that person? You've got to meet people. You've got to put yourself out there. So I went to a bunch of networking events. I volunteered my butt off. You know, in the early days, and even still to this day, I'm volunteering. When you volunteer, you're rubbing elbows with movers and shakers. And even if they don't necessarily have business for you, they are more apt to refer you to their friends and their coworkers or peers, whatever the case may be. So don't discount those opportunities. Now, here's the other thing when it comes to promotions. And I know nobody wants to hear this because I certainly didn't want to hear it when I was in your shoes, but you really do have to spend money to make money. It's one of those necessary evils when it comes to running your own business. So set aside a budget for your promotional efforts, whether that means hiring a designer or actually paying for printing or mailing or whatever it is. Okay, set aside some money to pay for your promotions. You have to spend money to make money. It's just one of those things that happens. Work with a pro. If it's not in your wheelhouse, if this is not something that you do for your business, please, 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 by all means, find somebody who fits your style and doesn't just necessarily come recommended. I can't tell you how many times I'll be on Facebook or LinkedIn or whatever, and I'll see somebody post, hey, anybody got a recommendation for a graphic designer? And here comes like 101 different recommendations. Well, how do you narrow it down? Oh, well, my best friend refers this person, you know, so I should probably go with that person. No, wait a second, stop right there. Yes, referrals are very important and I highly recommend them. However, there's more to the story. You want to make sure that that person's, not your friend, but the designer, for instance, that their style is what you're looking for. It takes all kinds to make up this industry, and we all have different styles. Some people are more edgy, some people are more conservative, some people are more whimsical. What is it that you're looking for? What is it that speaks to you? That's what you want to know. Plus, you're going to want to interview each of these people because you want to make sure, like I said before, that they can see your strategy, they can see your vision, they can help you reach your goals. You have to figure out who is right for you. And not everybody's going to jive with one another. So it's really essential that you do that. Okay. If you need help finding a freelancer, I have a solution for you. Haha. So this Thursday, shameless plug coming, I can do this because it's part of Global Entrepreneurship Week. But this Thursday, my organization, the Freelance Exchange, is hosting our annual portfolio showcase as part of Global Entrepreneurship Week this year. And then the gates open, right? But here you can come and meet freelancers who do these things. They are designers, they are writers, they are photographers, videographers, PR pros, social media pros, web developers, you name it. We've got a big, vast variety of people who will be exhibiting. And this is happening on Thursday. We start at 2 o'clock with a panel discussion where you'll be able to ask questions. We'll have a Q&A. And it's basically, if you've never hired a freelancer before, or maybe you need a refresher in the matter, like what to expect and best practices when hiring somebody. And then from 3 to 5, we will have an open house where you can come and go as you please, and you can come check out the members of the Freelance Exchange or those who will be exhibiting. This is all online. This is all on Zoom. This is free to attend. You can find more information on the Freelance Exchange website at fxofkc.com, or of course, go to the GEW website, Global Entrepreneurship Week website, and sign up there. And we'll send you the link and you can come join us on Thursday. So it's a great opportunity to really meet the person behind the mask, behind the work, and see if they're right for you. Okay, so back to the solopreneurship part. Our next section that we're going to talk about, we talked about branding and promotions. Now we want to talk about pricing. You've got to price yourself, right? And this is probably the most received question I get when I give live presentations. And that is, Julie, how do I price my services? How do I price my products? And unfortunately, I don't know. Now, wait, there is a method to my madness, and let me explain why. There are so many variables that come into play that I can't give you a generic answer that's a one size fits all kind of thing. I need to know things. What is your niche? What is it that you're selling? How many years experience do you have? Are you new to freelancing? Are you not? Are you good at what you do? Are you not? Are you in demand? Is your phone ringing off the hook or is it not? And then something else that comes into play is cost of living. And I'll tell you why, because if you look at a freelancer in Kansas City and you look at somebody in New York City, their prices are going to be very, very different just simply because New York has higher cost of living, or Seattle or San Francisco. You get my gist here. Now, let me tell you, there's a great place to start. There are some worksheets or salary calculators that you can find online. And I'll give you an example here. Now, I know these are really, really small, just so bear with me. Again, email me later if you want me to send these to you, or honestly, just do a simple Google search like I did, and you can find these just as easily. The first of which is the cost of doing business. And essentially it asks, okay, how much do you need to spend in order to run your business every month? And then the second sheet is different formulas, different ways that you can figure out what your hourly rate ought to be if you are planning on charging by the hour. And that's great. It's a great first place to start, but it doesn't take into account what if you want to charge by the project or by the day, or if you're selling an actual product, that doesn't help, right? Again, great first place to start, but this doesn't take into account any of the things that I mentioned before. How good are you? How much in demand are you? How much experience do you have? There's so much that comes into play. So my best piece of advice to you is to find a mentor. Find somebody in your industry who's doing what you're doing, who maybe or something similar, who maybe has a few years more experience than you. Get to be buddy with them. Ask them questions. Ask them if they'd be willing to share. What did they charge when they were in your shoes? That is the best resource that you can find when it comes to pricing. Okay. And then once you've got a price in mind, test your rates. See what kind of feedback you get on them. If you don't get any pushback whatsoever, then I think, you're doing okay. But let me rephrase that. If you get a lot of pushback, then you're probably too high. If you get a little pushback, I think you're right where you need to be. If you get a lot of pushback, then you need to lower your rates. Okay. But if it's no pushback, then it's time to raise your rates. The thing to remember, though, and so many self-employed individuals forget this often, is that your work has value. People are paying for your time, your energy, your skills, your resources, okay? Your work has value. Don't discount yourself. Be sure to charge what you're worth, okay? Again, your work has value. Let me give you an example. This person may be on the call, but I had somebody who came to me who is a senior level individual who has incredible experience and had just decided to go out on their own to start freelancing. And we were talking rates and trying to figure out where they should be. And they said, well, I'm just starting out in freelancing. I don't feel like I can command a senior level rate. And I'm like, of course you can command a senior level rate. Absolutely. You have the chops to back it up. I don't care that you haven't freelanced before. I care that you know your shit and you're going to get the job done, right? So remember that your work has value. Be sure to charge what you're worth. Okay. Enough about pricing. That's not fun. Let's talk about some motivation techniques and things that you can do to help get you in the right mindset every single day, such as wake up, kick ass, and repeat every day. You've got to get yourself in the right mindset. So much of your success is determined by your mindset and by your attitude. So get yourself in the right mindset. Now, let me say that with some sort of caveat, because I understand we are going through some really crazy times with the pandemic. I know it is super depressing. People are sick, people are dying, people are losing their jobs, people are out of money. I understand that. Okay. Plus, on top of that, it's becoming wintertime here. As sooner than later, it's going to be cold and dark and dreary, and people get depressed with that just in and of itself. I understand. I've been there. So let me give you some tips of things that have worked for me to come out of that dark depressive hole and keep focused and keep rocking and rolling on your business, because that's what you got to do. All right. Number one, first things first, when you get up in the morning, you want to make your bed. Okay. It doesn't have to be all the throw pillows and fancy covers or whatnot. Just simply pull your covers up, make your bed if you don't already. And there's two reasons for this. One of which is because you will have already accomplished something for the day. Yay, round of applause. Not right or check that off your to-do list. Does anybody put that on their to-do list? I don't know. Anyway, you've already accomplished something. That's great. But number two, especially if you work from home, you will now be less likely to crawl back into that bed and take a nap. It tells your mind, I'm done with this for the day. I'm not coming back to this until later tonight. Now, I know some of you are probably looking at me like I'm crazy. Others may think I'm brilliant. I'm going to go with the latter half of that. But these tips work. Try it. Okay, number two, you get out of bed and you go and you do your morning routine, whatever that looks like. You go have breakfast, you read, you take the dog for a walk, you meditate, you pray, whatever your morning routine is, great. Okay, but then you're ready to go to work. Don't go to work in your pajamas. I cannot stress that enough. Go shower, get dressed for the day, do your hair, do your makeup. Yes, even if nobody is going to be seeing you for the day. Again, this is a little mindset trick that you can do that fools you into thinking that you, or knowing that you are going to work. Essentially, you have to treat your business like a business and not like a hobby. And when we're dressed in lounge clothes, guess what? We lounge. And we are not nearly as productive than if we were dressed for work. Treat it as if you actually had an office to go to. Put shoes on too. Don't forget shoes. Again, it's a mindset trick. That way, if somebody calls you in non-pandemic times and says, hey, can you meet me out in half an hour? You can say yes, because I am ready. Conversely, if somebody says, can you jump on a Zoom call with me in half an hour? Again, you can say, yes, I am ready. And you don't have to hide with your video off because people are going to be wondering what you're hiding. Okay. Put out a good impression and be motivated and get your work done. All right. Now, in your office, of course, I'd like you to have some sort of dedicated workspace, whether it's a desk or maybe you don't have an office just yet. Maybe it's your dining room table or your kitchen table. Have some sort of dedicated workspace. You want to be sitting upright. Excuse me. Again, that is one of the things that is going to help. Instead of lounging on a couch or on a chair or in your bed, okay, have that dedicated workspace and then set office hours for yourself. Okay. I don't care what they are, 9 to 5, noon to 6, whatever works for you. Set office hours for yourself and make sure that you are working on your business or in your business during those hours. Nothing else matters unless there's an emergency, of course. Okay. On your business is doing admin, promotional stuff, cleaning, filing, whatever. Working in your business is actually doing the paid work. Now, people might say to me, Julie, I don't have any paid work coming in the door. Why do I need to be in my office? Because there's always work to be done, whether you're getting paid for it or not. There is always work that you can be doing, whether it's new business development, promotions, maybe it's engaging on social media, right? There's always something to be done. So put your best foot forward, prepare for the future, and be working on your business or in your business during those office hours. Now that comes into play as well, should you have friends or family members who like to distract you during the day. Right? You've got to be able to keep these distractions at bay. If you're working from home and you have a spouse, a roommate, a partner, a kid, a pet, whatever, you've got to set boundaries for yourself and ask them to also respect those boundaries. Put, close the door to your office, put a sign out, that says do not disturb or mommy's working or whatever. Now, of course, I understand if you have real little ones, that might be a little challenging, but work with me here. Maybe there's some bribery that you can do. Hey, sit down and watch this 30-minute video while I go get some work done, kind of thing. Whatever it takes. Or even like the friends who will call you or text you and say, hey, it's beautiful out. Let's go grab a margarita on the patio at 4 o'clock today. And you'll be like, man, that sounds amazing, but can we do it at 5? Okay, so I've trained myself. I have to work till 5. Now I have to train my friends and my family as well. I'm not leaving my office unless it's like for a client meeting or something in normal times. But I'm not leaving my office until it's like any other job. Now, that's not to say you can't do this every once in a while. That's the glory of running your own business, the freedom, right? You set your own schedule, you can do what you want. Once in a blue moon isn't going to kill you. If you do it all the time, yes, that's going to hurt you. So set yourself up for success by following these tips. Same goes for anything else that might be a distraction for you, whether it's social media notifications or emails or texts, or even TV, videos, video games, Netflix. Remind yourself you have work to do. You can get to that late. Reward yourself, and maybe you do those in the evenings and on the weekends. If you have a spouse or a roommate who expects you to get chores done during the day, same thing. Train yourself, then train them. You'll get them done, but you'll get them done after hours, in the evenings or on the weekends. Okay, whatever your office hours are on. Okay, so train yourself, train your family and friends. Use these mindset tricks to get ahead. Okay, so I went through a lot today and we're running out of time. So if you want reminders on any of the stuff that we talked about, I have a free little download that you can get if you go to my website, juliecortez.com. Remember, there's an S at the end. Scroll to the bottom of the homepage and you can download the PDF right there. You get this nice little pretty PDF. You can print it out, put it up on your bulletin board where you see it every single day to help you get ahead. juliecortez.com. Get the 7 tips to rock your solo biz. Okay, so in summary, I want you to be bold in your branding, in your promotions. You've got to put yourself out there. And if that is difficult for you, find somebody to do it for you, because it will really pay off in dividends in the end. You've got to be confident in your pricing. You'll have done your homework, so stay strong and don't falter on that. Be bold. Number 2, I want you to be brave. Take that chance and go for it. Now is the opportune time to do this. Yes, times are weird, but make the most of them. Use these motivation tips and techniques to stay focused and to get ahead. I promise you, they really, really work. And last but not least, be badass. Use these tips to set yourself up for success. Go after your dreams with full intention and rock that solopreneurship life. I know you can. If you have any questions or you need any help, please let me know how I can help you on your journey. Thank you so much for having me in today. I will now allow questions in, or look at the chat here. What do we got? Oh, no questions. All right, anybody else got any questions? I am here. Ask me anything. I have 4 minutes. All righty. Well, thank you all for coming today. I really appreciate you signing up for the Solopreneurship 101 class. Again, if there's anything that I can help you with on your journey, or if you have any questions that you think of after the fact, let me put my email in here for you in the chat for you. It is copydiva@juliecortez.com. You can find me on social media at KC Copydiva, on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram. I do have a brand new YouTube channel. If you want to see past presentations, just Google Julie Cortez Freelance Rockstar and you should be able to, or not Google it, but look on YouTube, search, you should be able to find it. All righty. Well, thanks so much. I've had a blast today. I hope you learned as much today and got motivated, and you're going to go rock your business. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.